in preparation for the main elections. Professor Yakubu, who described the meeting with the resident electoral commissioners as crucial, used the meeting to inform them about arrangements put in place for the elections. He assured them that the commission will not hesitate to take other measures to ensure that all who registered get their permanent voter cards, PVCs. Now, let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo, who is also the principal spokesperson for the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress, APC, on emerging facts about the 2023 presidential race. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Now, welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guests of the day. I'm now joined by the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo, who is also the All Progressives Congress, APC, a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, and fellow of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, is a lawyer and human rights activist. In April 2018, Keyamo was appointed as the Director of Strategic Communications of the 2019 re-election bid of President Muhammadu Buhari. He was appointed the Minister of State for Niger Delta in 2019 before he was redeployed to the Ministry of Labor and Employment by President Muhammadu Buhari. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so good to see you again. Now, let's start this conversation with your Osun State's governorship election petitions tribunal in law.
The moment the judgment was pronounced today, I made effort to get a copy of the judgment and then read through it. And I can tell you confidently that the judgment is sound in the interpretation of the law and the evaluation of the evidence. The basic thing about the judgment is all about the beavers that Section 47 of the Electoral Act has virtually legislated into existence. So for all those who believe in the beavers, for all those who have been saying that the beavers will clean up our electoral system, this is one of the results of the cleanup of our electoral system. And so they must respect the judgment. The APC was smart enough to apply for the beavers record of every polling unit of that election. So the beavers record will be like what you have, like a printout, like what you have an account printout of a bank. So showing every unit and the score of every unit. They quickly made a certified true copy of that beavers record. And after they made a certified true copy of the beavers record, they filed their action in court, relying on that beavers record upon which Ademola Adeleke was declared governor of Osun State. After that, pleadings were exchanged. The PDP, now after about a month of filing the election petition, INEC came up with another beavers report, obviously different from the one they had earlier certified. There's some noise coming in. I can't hear.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I can't hear.
So, Keyamo, please go ahead with your submission. You can go ahead with your submission, Mr. Keyamo.
Some interference. I can't hear.
Mr. Keyamo, you can go ahead with your submission.
INEC now presented another beavers report that was substantially different from the first beavers report. And that report, you could see that 749 polling units were affected in 10 local government areas. I think the two other local governments in Lesha, Osogbo, and on like that. They were substantially different. So you see at times where the beavers accredited 50 persons, you will see 80 persons voted. more than the figures accredited by beavers. And the law is very clear, according to Section 47 of the Electoral Act, that once this happens, that is what they call overvoting, and that particular polling unit must be cancelled. And so this affected 749 polling units across 10 local governments of Osun State. So it was a straightforward issue that they had to cancel all of those, polling units. And by the time they canceled the polling units, Adeba Adele case figures came up 220,000. And of course, Oyetola's figures came up to about 314,000. That means, of course, that the PDP stole about more than 100,000 votes of the Osun people, votes that came from nowhere. And so it was not difficult at all for the tribunal to come to the conclusion that there was voting in 749 local units, and they had to deduct those votes from the votes that were declared by INEC. And then the point that was made, I must make this point, that INEC was insisting that the second beavers report they brought, that was the one that they properly synchronized, that they had to do cleanup and all that after the election. And so the second beavers report that they made, obviously that second beavers report was doctored in the tribunal came to the case in court. And by law, when you manufacture evidence during the pendency of a case in court, that evidence will be rejected by the courts.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, I would have to go on a quick break now, but when I come back, we will continue this discussion. Please don't go away.
Needs focused leadership to take decisive action to end insecurity, reposition our economy for businesses to thrive, and restore total peace in the land. Tinubu is the right man for the job. Through innovation and technology, he will reposition Nigeria for businesses to thrive. Nigeria will export more and import less. Tinubu will reposition the agricultural sector for food security and improve farmers' welfare. Electricity will be reformed for a brighter Nigeria. Health, education, and housing will be more accessible and affordable. Nigeria will be transformed into an entertainment powerhouse, a home of sporting achievement, and a renowned tourist destination. Tinubu's government will build a Nigeria where we prosper together. He has done it before, and he will do it again for Nigeria.
For renewed hope 2023, vote Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Senator Kashim Shettima as President and Vice President of Nigeria. Vote APC.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and I still have with me the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, who is also the spokesperson for the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress, Festus Keyamo. All right, going by your earlier submission, what is the implication of this judgment for the polity and the coming elections?
Those who are planning themselves, it is better now that you allow your true figures to be reflected in Form EC8A. Because what happened was that when they went through every single unit as recorded in beavers and the EC8As, there was overvoting and discrepancy in 749 units. The law is very clear now. Once it exceeds the figures as captured by the beavers, once it exceeds those figures, automatically that unit is cancelled. There is no question of trying to deduct the overvoting figures and all that. No, they will just cancel the entire unit. So it is a lesson to riggers. It's a lesson to those who do not want to come to terms with our new electoral process, that right now our electoral process is cleaner and better. And you can see that 100,000 votes were stolen by a candidate who was declared great. I can say that confident now because I'm quoting from the judgment of a court. It's a finding of fact. 100 and something votes were stolen to cheat the people of Osun State. So that's the point now. We must continue to play the game as prescribed by law. I don't want to say too much about the dissenting judgment, but let me just, for 10 seconds, brief the public about what the dissenting judgment says. The single dissenting judgment simply says that they should have relied on the electoral, the register of voters. But our contention is that Section 47 has done away with the old register of voters. That, of course, has been replaced with us now, because that is the basis for now. The old is no longer the basis for accreditation of voters.
All right, now let's move on to other issue. Why have you gone to court over the whistleblower's allegation against former Vice President Atiku Abubakar?
No, you see, I think I've explained this a number of times. Now, we must continue, we must begin to do things in this country that accords with morality and good conscience. It is very distasteful that a candidate running for the office of President of Nigeria, when he was Vice President of this country, he virtually confessed that he abused his office. Our boss, President Olusegun, companies, shell companies, by which they siphoned funds, public monies, to fund their businesses, fund their political parties, families. And there's no sense of outrage. There's no sense of remorse on their part. What do you hear? What do you hear? You hear counter mudslinging. You are hearing, what about you now? What did you do about it? You also did and do that. And then in saying so, notice that they have not produced an equally compelling evidence like us. All they just wanted to do is what Yoruba say, "Kadasi rough." Let us play into the gutters, so that people will just think that it is too fighting. That's what they have said. So have they produced before Nigerian people a video evidence, a voice note, as we have done, of our confessing to a crime? All they have done is to now bring dead evidence of cases that have been completed long ago. And don't forget that when they brought this evidence out, I challenged them. About October or last year, I said, go to court. If you know that this is a disqualifying issue, go to court. They refused to go to court. Why? Because there was no substance to take to court. These matters had been, first of all, there was no territorial jurisdiction, because these matters happened in the US and the matter had been settled, and the US government had issued a letter. So they knew they could not go to court. They were only using it for nuisance value. They were using it for blackmail. And they were using it to hoodwink Nigerians to get votes. But in our own case, this was fresh evidence. So I'm sure that talking to Nigerians are intelligent enough to decipher between what we are saying and what they are saying. Ours is a case of compelling, fresh evidence regarding issue that EFCC have been trying to crack. Like you have been trying to crack a case for many years, you cannot crack a case. Now you say you knew how that crime was committed. And see that even in the tape, he admitted that EFCC had thoroughly investigated that account, but that they could not catch him because they were using fronts. So I decided on my own, in the last 30 years of this country, it has been my forte to challenge illegal acts in court, to challenge unconstitutional issues in court, to challenge corruption in court, to also go to court to promote our democracy and to promote constitutional governments. I've always done that. It has been my forte. And so this time I decided that the fact that I'm in office will not stop me from challenging this illegality. And I want Nigerians to see the immorality in their response. The immorality, and they should be angry about what they are doing. They are doing counter. They are just quoting fake accounts, raising dream about monies are transferred here and there. Even the so-called company, the person who was accusing Asiwaju on that issue before, had come out to endorse Asiwaju and said he was sorry about what he did. So there's no correlation between what we are doing and what they are doing. There's no correlation at all. And that is why we must, I will decide that, I have decided, that I will ask questions until answers are provided. Right. It is not right. It is not right. No, let me even tell you, I just say this for 10 seconds. Do you know, in the heat of this SPV, Atiku went to Ibadan and said before a crowd of supporters, He did not say it behind cameras. He did not. He was not caught off tape saying it. He was saying it in front of cameras that if you don't vote, if you don't delete it, you will not get contracts from me. That is to tell you that it is in his veins. Corruption is in his blood. You cannot change a tiger. A tiger you cannot change his colors. Why don't you take it to London and bring it back? He does not know that there is nothing wrong about bypassing due process. This is a presidential candidate that does not know anything about due process. And he was saying it in public, in the heat of SPV. That is the kind of candidate Nigerians are going to decide whether to vote for him or not. He does not understand illegality again. He's wired to promote corruption.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, I'm sure many Nigerians would also like to hear this. Is it your intention to send Atiku to jail or get him out of the presidential race, or both?
Both. Because a governor to jail for this particular issue. And I'm not saying this on a lighter note. A governor who served the state, Dariye, because of this account called Marine Float account, it was one of the counts upon which he was found guilty and sent to jail. So who is Atiku Abubakar, for Christ's sake? Who is he? Is he above the law? Does he have immunity more than the governor? Well, we are supposed to hold him to a higher level of morality in this matter. And there's no outrage by some sections of even Nigerians and the press about what he's doing. You heard the whistleblower was on this station the other day, revealing more facts about the presidential candidate, and to tell you that we have sunk to the lowest level of debauchery. You can even see that a section of the press, I can tell you a particular or two particular TV stations, who were inviting people who were not even related to Asiwaju, who just made documentaries about conjectures about what happened in the US. They were invited on a daily basis to those stations by Zoom. They have not invited Achimugu, who was an insider, who have evidence, who have documents. They have not invited him to come and talk to Nigerians. It's to tell Nigerians the lowest level of debauchery and immorality that even some of members of the press have sunk in Nigeria. And I'm saying this openly.
All right, speaking to that, one of the prominent lawyers in the country said nobody will arrest Atiku because he's too powerful. And as a human rights lawyer, I'm asking you now, are there really people who are above the law in our country?
There's nobody who is above the law. Let me even tell you that even in terms of explaining to Nigerians what transpired, when Asiwaju was accused, I want Nigerians to understand that we, all of us, my colleagues in the various media departments, came out of respect for Nigerians and took Nigerians through the evidence one by one in the US and came to the conclusion that this is apologizing on behalf of Atiku. They are only saying that, what about you too now? Is that somebody running for president of Nigeria to say, if you do it, I will do it too? And we are talking of the same coffers that he's going back to preside over. Like somebody said, he said, if you are doing special purpose vehicle then, as vice president, now we expect special purpose aircraft to be siphoning Nigeria's money.
So let's go back to the exclusive interview. The whistleblower had
takeaways is that simply that I saw a gentleman who was troubled by his conscience. And he said the moment he made that call to Atiku Abubakar in 2018 to explain what happened with the Marine Float account, and he had that response. From then on, he said he was a troubled man, and he thought that this is a man who should not be running for the president of this country. And so, rather than humiliate the young man, rather than, tag him with all kinds of negative epithets, I think we should hail him as a whistleblower. This is what we are promoting in this country. The government, don't forget that as a policy of President Muhammadu Buhari, when he came, he approved the whistleblower. And just in this, I was in council on that day, a draft bill on the whistleblower protection was brought to council, and we approved it. That bill is about to be transmitted to the National Assembly to formally, pass a law to promote this kind of persons who have the temerity and the courage to speak out in the face of illegality and corruption. This is the type of, people that the law wants to protect in this country.
So I would also like to know if you share the notion that these are mere allegations that may not be successfully proven. Mr. Keyamo.
But that is why you need to investigate them. Are you running away from investigation? If Atiku Abubakar was to be a responsible Nigerian, how immoral his reaction is. Again, you saw documents by which this gentleman was appointed, signed by his, people around him, signed by his children or his son, signed by his manager, his campaign managers. You saw emails exchanged between him and Atiku Abubakar. You saw his phone numbers in those emails. You saw his voice note. The evidence is compelling. It's compelling. And Nigerians, look, no matter we argue from now till tomorrow, Nigerians listening to that voice, seeing those documents, they have made up their minds. The PDP people can come here and begin to do tricks up and down, but Nigerians who are intelligent, who are elites enough, or even the ones who are not too educated, they have listened to it, they know the issues. I speak with you, they have made up their minds. They can come here and fool themselves before Nigerians, but I can tell you that Nigerians have made up their minds as to the character of the person of Atiku Abubakar. And that's why he has always lost elections in this country, because people don't just trust him.
All right, so let's move on to some other issues. A former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council who headed the civil society unit, talking about Najatu Mohammed, has been granting newspaper and television interviews backing your party and the principal. Now, the PCC claimed that she was fired for being quarrelsome and incompetent, but she's claiming that she resigned. What's the true situation?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's even something I should not even waste my time on, but just to make 2 or 3 replies. First of all, those who were in her particular directorate, because I wasn't close to them, I don't even know her one-on-one, but those who were had already informed, there was a press statement to that effect later, but she knew she was going to be sacked, and so she quickly came out with all of these theatrics around to Atiku Abubakar. But secondly, and most importantly, to tell you that Nigerians have seen through her theatrics. You claim you went to London to see Asiwaju around October last year, or September, and that you noticed some abnormalities about his behavior. That is why he said that he could not hold a cup of tea, could not drink, and all of that. But after that, you came back to Nigeria. You accepted the appointment. You began to function. You were waiting for something which I don't want to say on air yet. He was actually waiting for something and putting pressure and almost blackmailing our presidential candidate. And she was told off, she was rebuffed before she decided to not theatrics, and she thought she's doing some damage. But really, anybody who questions her integrity will simply ask her, why come back from London and accept the appointment if you notice some abnormality? Again, she granted interview, she's beginning to contradict herself big time. And I tweeted that this morning. She said Asiwaju likes to be controlling, and he's like an emperor that likes to control people, Nigerians. And I simply asked the question. She said on the one hand that Asiwaju has dementia. On the other hand, you said she's an emperor and tries to control people. Anybody who is an emperor and tries to control people is actually indicative of somebody who has a very sharp mind, who is sharp-witted, and who is methodical in his thinking. So how can you reconcile both now, that somebody has dementia, yes, the person is sharp-witted enough and wants to control people, an emperor? Well, Nigerians have dismissed her as a rabble-rouser. And let me tell her, she should go and resign from the Police Service Commission that President Muhammad Baru had, appointed her into. You are supposed to provide advice regarding security and issues regarding the police. Now you come on air complaining about the police, but you have been given an opportunity to contribute now. In the critical sector you are complaining about that there is insecurity in the country, but you are in the Police Service Commission. Resign from there. That is the fraud that woman is. I'm sorry, but it's fraud.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, you know, she also spoke so much about Tinubu's health issue. She said your principal is not fit to be president. But as someone who has worked with Tinubu on this campaign, how will you react to that allegation?
I don't even have to react. Nigerians should react. Asiwaju has covered more ground than other presidential candidates. You see him dancing, you know, town hall meeting to the other. What more do you want to see? He's climbing stages unaided. He's coming down from stages unaided. The other time they were hiding Atiku Abubakar down from the stage. They were holding his hand. Nobody's talking about that. That is not making headlines. It's Asiwaju.
All right then. You know, this campaign season has been characterized by name-calling, unprofessional conduct by broadcast stations, mocking and body shaming of candidates. Why is this election characterized by negative state of affairs?
It's unfortunate that you are actually calling, you know, the fourth estate of the realm into, you know, question. Because we have seen the most unprofessional house, media, and also, of course, television stations, radio stations too. The other day, Asiwaju, in a bid, in Jos, I'll give you an example, in a bid to say APC, he said, he mistakenly said APC, corrected himself. That issue, a normal slip of tongue that everybody, all the spokesmen, all the candidates do that. It made headline in a major newspaper in this country. Headline. That same Jos, about 3 weeks later, Atiku went there, made the same error. He said APC, he said vote for AP or PDP. That thing was blanked out from that particular paper. It was blanked out. Until I cried out, I tweeted it, I called them out. The next day they went to talk it inside page 10 or page 12. It's to tell you the lowest level of debauchery to which we have sunk everywhere. So this name calling and all kinds of things you are hearing is promoted and aided by a partisan press, a partisan fourth estate of the realm. And I am sorry if this tradition continues. Their credibility will die, their reputation will die, and Nigerians will no longer look up to them for news items. And Nigerians are beginning to question every news item they see in various media houses now. Like I told you, and I'm calling them out on this program, Atiku was an aide to Atiku Abubakar. He has documents, he has voice recording. Why have you not invited him? Why? I'm calling out those radio stations and TV stations, but you were inviting people making documentaries, do nothing about Asiwaju, who relationship with Asiwaju, bring them to appear every day by Zoom because of one dead drug matter. Nigerians should be wise as to what is going on in the press.
Mr. Keyamo, but we also some politicians promoting this negativity. Just recently we saw...
The noise is coming out. They should stop playing that video. The noise is interfering. I can't hear. They should stop playing that video.
All right, I was saying that some politicians are also guilty of this negativity because just recently we saw some very senior member of the Presidential Campaign Council mimicking candidates.
They should stop doing that. All right. Yes. Well, I made that point the other day that it is okay if you do this thing in skits. On online media, and most of these young people do in skits, it's okay. You take them as fun. It's one of the things you can't control on online media now. But if somebody appointed by a presidential coming on stage in a campaign and mimicking and trying to, to mock an otherwise healthy candidate, don't forget that the candidate you are mocking is even healthier than yourself. He looks fitter than you. I don't want to describe the way he looks, his physique, but the physique of him, my candidate, looks better than your physique. And then you are falling on stage and mimicking an otherwise healthy candidate who is even 30 years, more than 30 or 20 years older than yourself. And then a vice presidential candidate on that stage, laughing with his 32 showing. It was the height of imbecility. It's a height of idiocy. I'm sorry, but that is the only way I can describe it. Posing of us at that time, and he passed on. Who was going through dialysis and all that? I said so. I said that was not mocking him. It was a question, statement of fact, because he had died. Yar'Adua had died at that time. I was not mocking him. I was not doing tricks. But this is somebody rolling on stage, mocking an otherwise healthy candidate. I hope Nigerians are watching. I hope Nigerians are seeing the type of characters who are seeking for their votes and who want to get into the presidential villa. Nigerians will reply them with their PVC February 25th.
Mr. Keyamo,
I'm very confident about that.
Mr. Keyamo, before